Thank you so much, Russ. Now, you've already met the 2012 AFA Student Advisory Team, and we've been hard at work since April to help plan this conference experience while also serving as the student voice of AFA. I'd like to also introduce you to the 2012 AFA Campus Ambassadors. Campus Ambassadors act as a liaison between AFA and their campuses by organizing and facilitating campus meetings to increase awareness of AFA programs to students and faculty. Coming from all across the nation, Campus Ambassadors also assist in pre-conference activities, including on-site support. Let's take a moment to allow them to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Seth Irwin, an agribusiness and applied economics major from The Ohio State University.
Hello, my name is Dennis Kincaid, and I'm majoring in agricultural education from Southeast Missouri State University.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne Lentz. I'm a food science major at the University of Wisconsin.
Hey everybody, I'm Emma Likens, and I'm an agricultural journalism major from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate Martins. I'm from the University of Minnesota, majoring in agriculture education.
My name is Hillary Morris, and I attend Iowa State University, where I major in agricultural business.
Hi, my name is Katie Nichols. I'm from Washington State University. I'm majoring in agricultural education and ag and food business economics.
Good afternoon. My name is Kayla Petrie, and I am majoring in plant sciences with a crop management emphasis at the University of Missouri.
Hi, I'm Tanner Roloff, majoring in agricultural economics at North Dakota State University.
Hey guys, I'm Sarah Sample. I attend South Dakota State University, where I am currently majoring in animal science.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle Smith, and I go to the University of Arkansas. I'm studying agricultural communications.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda Sumricks, and I attend Michigan State University, majoring in environmental studies and agri-science with concentrations in communication and community engagement and education.
My name is Jessica Vasquez. I am studying ag business at California State University, Chico.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paige Warren. I'm a student at Oklahoma State University, and I'm double majoring in agricultural communications and animal science.
Hey guys, my name is Charlie Wilson, studying agricultural mechanization and business at Clemson University.
Thank you, ambassadors. Please don't hesitate to utilize these campus ambassadors as another resource to learn about how AFA can enrich your college experience. I am now pleased to introduce our opening speaker for 2012 AFA Leaders Conference. Economist and futurist Dr. J. Lehr makes people feel good about American agriculture. He combines 5 decades of expertise and experience in agricultural economics, agronomy, environmental science, and business administration with the most contagious enthusiasm for the American farm and ranch. Dr. Lehr received an engineering degree from Princeton, followed by 2 years of active duty in the Naval Civil Engineering Corps. He then studied for and received his PhD in a combined program of water resources, environmental science, and agricultural economics from the University of Arizona. Dr. Lehr taught at both the University of Arizona and The Ohio State University before forming 2 education companies, which he later sold to 2 different Fortune 500 companies. He is the author or co-author of 30 books. His newest book, published in 2011, is The Nuclear Energy Encyclopedia, which made him a regular across network television following the Japanese earthquake. Dr. Lehr is also an inventor holding a U.S. patent for a device that alleviates the pain from tennis elbow, as well as an accomplished athlete and certified personal trainer. He has completed the Hawaiian Triathlon Ironman Triathlon 9 times and won the Florida Ironman Triathlon in his age group in 2007 and a similar race in Ohio on his 75th birthday in 2011. He admits the competition is thin. Finally, Jay currently holds the world's longest monthly skydiving streak, having now jumped from a plane in Ohio every single month for 34 years. Some, he admits, Call it a record for stupidity. We're excited to welcome Dr. Jay Lehr to our AFA Leaders Conference. Now please turn your attention to an introductory video about Dr. Lehr's effort to share the message of agriculture.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm here to bookend all the fabulous young people that spoke on camera and in person, all of whom stole my entire talk by talking about the importance of agricultural communication. And in the last half century, well, I'm the bookend because you're all young and I'm 76 years old. And Mr. Weathers made a comment about you'll have 20, 30, or 40 years ahead of you. I'm 76. I've worked full-time in agriculture my entire career. I was brought up in a stable as a child. My first job was mucking stables and laying out bedding for horses. And in college, I studied agricultural economics and water supply and irrigation and agronomy. It's all I've ever done. And I think I have 30 good years left. So he said 20, 30, 40. I'm going to say 50, 60, or 70 for you. And as I was saying, I've given over 1,000 talks. I don't think I've ever given a talk more important than this. I don't think I've ever been more nervous than this because of that. I've never talked to 500 college students. I've talked at virtually every university represented by the young people that spoke to you earlier, but usually my classes were 30, 40, 50 students. So the opportunity to talk to the best and the brightest, over 500 people studying agriculture, which is my passion, which is my life, is absolutely incredible. Because I really have an exponential opportunity to make an impact on your lives. I'm going to talk about a good deal of agricultural content. I'm going to tell you about the fact that this is the golden age of agriculture. You could not be entering this field at a better time, and it isn't going to change in the foreseeable future. We are not going to have price supports anymore. We're going to have government-supported crop insurance, but we will not need to worry about corn going back to $2.40 or $2.60 where the crop support is right now. The world has discovered our diet, and they want it because of the internet. So I'm going to talk about the world's food supply. I'm going to talk about biotechnology and precision agriculture and the idea of sustainability, and I'll talk about animal welfare, water supply, land prices, a little bit about EPA farm regulations. But none of those subjects are quite as important as introducing you and repeating what has been said already. One, that you're entering a field at a time it couldn't be better. Your futures are amazing. And that having the passion for agriculture that has brought you here is the most important thing, and that your careers can go on for decades and decades. Obviously, I'm one of the world's leading optimists. I'm 76. I actually believe I could be standing on a stage talking when I'm 106. Proof of my optimism, I suppose, is the fact that I've jumped out of an airplane in Ohio every month for 35 years, and here I am. I'm very good at risk management, which is certainly part of agriculture. But I guess, in a sense, I want to be a role model for you. I want to be a mentor for you. And for that reason, I placed on every single chair in this room my professional card. And I didn't put it there meaninglessly. I put it there because my email address and my phone number is there. And I want you to see me as a resource, somebody that has well over a half a century of experience in agriculture. I've written 30 books on every imaginable aspect. They're all in print. You can find them on Amazon. I want you to see me as a resource, and young people tend not to go to older people. I want you to see me as a resource by email or by phone at any time in the coming years. So this is a beginning of a relationship. Not here and gone, but the beginning of a relationship. Why is this the golden age? The world has discovered that we eat 65 grams of animal protein a day. The internet has told everybody in the world what advanced societies eat, and they want our diet. But statistically, what you don't know is that since 1990, the average income of every family on this planet has increased by 2/3. We're in a worldwide recession, coming out of it, hopefully. But in spite of that, every family on this planet has more money to spend, and when they have more money to spend, the first thing they do is improve the diet of their children. In that same 22-year period since 1990, the average family intake of animal protein has increased by over 50%. The desire for a good diet is driving your futures. I don't know that corn will stay at $7.50 or wheat close to $8 or soy over $15, but I know it will not go back anywhere near what it was years ago. I know we'll never see $4 corn again. The reason we can't conceivably see $4 corn again is that when it drops below $5, the Chinese will buy every bushel we create. China is, there's a lot of ideas around that China's going to eat our lunch, that they're going to become a superior world power to us. It's never going to happen. They're not going to eat our lunch. We're going to serve them lunch. Trade with China will support American agriculture for the rest of your lives. Trade with the rest of the world. This is the golden age. Now, one of the beautiful things that while I grew up on farms, I've worked on every conceivable farm in America, raising every grain, raising every animal. A lot of you may not want to work on farms. I'm sure a lot of you don't. You're going to go into biotechnology. You'll be working in laboratories. You're going to be working for manufacturers of precision agricultural equipment. You're going to be in every single walk of life. There is jobs within agriculture to fit every conceivable interest. And you all know that. I mean, if I were to run a quick poll here of all of you, I would find a myriad of interests in subject matter, all of which can be studied within agriculture. It's incredibly important. But the most important thing of all, which really was brought out by the young people that spoke before me, and that is in your very program, is that the society in general in this country does not know what I just said. They're unaware of all the different aspects of professional work that you can do in agriculture. They are unaware of the advances in agriculture. So if you learn nothing else from me in the next 40 minutes, I want you to commit yourselves to carrying the agricultural message, not to each other, but to the public. Now, in that humorous 4-minute movie where I actually spent a day and a half wandering around San Francisco talking about farming, what made a funny movie were the blank stares. But what in reality happened is that every blank stare turned into a conversation about agriculture that went on for 8 or 10 minutes until the hidden camera got my eye and asked me to go on and accost somebody else on the street, which I did. People are interested in agriculture, but they don't hear it from farmers. There's nobody in this room that doesn't know a farmer. They are not loud. They are not outspoken. They talk about farming to each other, but they don't talk to the public. Our biggest problem, in spite of the fact that this is the golden age of agriculture and your future is amazing, the only thing that can hold us back is misinformation about what we do. And if you don't tell them what we do, who's going to do it? So I'm going to charge you right now to do something for me every month for the rest of your lives. How's that for pushy? 2 hours every month you need to communicate with the public, not just with each other. The public has no idea that the farms that we work on aren't grandfather's farm. They don't understand biotechnology, which I'll tell you a little more about in a few minutes, that most of you probably already know. They have no clue about precision agriculture, which I'll talk a little bit about. Even though we're growing more food today on less acres than we did 40 years ago, they question, is farming sustainable? Environmental zealots have painted a black hat on us and put us on a black horse instead of the white hat and the white horse that we grew up with as the best of the best in America. There are people opposed to agriculture. They're opposed to all the advances that the companies that support AFA have developed. They don't want people to prosper. They don't want us to feed the 2 billion people that are undernourished and the 2 billion more that will be added before the population of the planet stops growing. Whether you think they're nice people or not, I don't care, but they spread misinformation. Part of your job, and that's what AFA is about. That's what this 3.5 days is about, is largely improving your communication capability. Developing even further the passion that you had to have to get here. You need to share that with people not in agriculture. You will always have social events. You will always have friends that are not in agriculture. Agriculture is fascinating. I'm going to feed you a ton of information in the next 35 minutes that you can share. And if you want more, you all have my email address. Send me an email and I'll send you all the trends, a couple dozen trends in agriculture that will fascinate you, that you can share. And I guarantee you, instead of talking about your hobby to a friend, talk about your profession to a friend, and you will fascinate them. In the rest of this decade, China will add over 200 million more people to the middle class. India will add 60 million more people to the middle class who will require our food, the very best food. Your futures could not be brighter. If you're all excited, you're all passionate, or you wouldn't be here, I want to double that passion. I have never been more excited in my life about my future in agriculture. My best years are ahead of me. I will just make one more point about that. When I was 20 years old, about to graduate my undergraduate work, I was passionate about agriculture. I knew it's what I wanted to do in some role or other. And I knew that if I found work that I was passionate about, I wouldn't have to worry about retiring. And I remember hearing a radio ad for some financial company saying that if I'd put my money with that company, I'd have money to enjoy my golden years. Well, in those days, the golden years were 60 to 65, and I looked around at people 60 to 65, and they were walking hunched over with canes, and they didn't look like they were having any fun at all. So I decided I wouldn't save any money for retirement. I would stay healthy. I would find work I was passionate about and never think of not doing it. So I want you at your young age to think about that, to not think about retiring, to keep reinventing yourself within agriculture. finding exciting things to do. Part of that is staying healthy. That was part of my plan. Sure, I've been a little lucky. How many of you have been on Lombard Street? That curvy street where I was sticking my head in people's windows. It's the steepest street in America. Used to go straight down. They had so many accidents, they made it curve. And people will ask me, how long was it before the cops came when I was sticking my head in car windows? The answer is 20 minutes. They did not catch me. I outran them. So I've been able to work my athletic activities and my fitness into my profession, and I'm working it in right now. I'm still doing Ironman triathlons. I'm incredibly slow. I just make it under the timeline. But I've literally made a commitment to be fit so I can enjoy my life in agriculture. For your information, if you really want to be optimally fit and not a great athlete, it takes an hour a day of aerobic activity and 2 or 3 resistance or weight workouts a week, and you'll manage. You won't win an Ironman competition, but you'll be very, very healthy. And if you think you'll get enough activity in your job, you won't. And that's an interesting thing with farming. You know, you've seen old farmers, and they are worn out at 65 because farming has been a very rigorous profession. With the advances in technology, it's not near as physically rigorous as it was, and you need exercise on top of it. Okay, let's talk about the technical subject matter. I'm going to talk about biotechnology, precision agriculture, sustainability, animal welfare, water supply, land prices, and EPA regulations. Biotechnology is the greatest thing that's ever happened to agriculture to feed the world. I don't have a lot of time to go into great detail, but anything bad you've heard about biotechnology is simply wrong. The hoops that we have to jump through through FDA, EPA, all of the health regulations to get a new seed to market are very onerous. And nothing gets through that is susceptible to impacting the environment or human health. And as you well know, we're creating food that's healthier, resistant to vermin and disease, will use less water. The potential of biotechnology for improving the human condition is limitless. The drought that most of you have lived through this winter will not affect our crops 15 years from now the way they did this year, because we're learning traits of plants that exist in arid areas, and we're able to move the genes that code for those traits in weeds that grow in the desert into our food crops. So we'll need less and less water to grow more and more food. If you don't fully understand biotechnology, I'll give you a 1-minute example. One of the first foods that we developed through biotechnology was called the frost-free strawberry. We knew there was a fish in the Arctic that froze in the ice in the winter and swam away in the spring when the ice melted. It had to have had a gene that protected the structure of its body from crystallizing and destroying itself. So we went up to the Arctic and we got embryos of Arctic flounders, and we looked at the genes in its DNA, and one by one we'd experiment taking a gene out and then letting it grow up to a fish, freezing it, and then thawing it. And if it swam away, we plucked out the wrong gene, and we kept doing it until one day, one of the embryos that became a fish that we had extracted a gene from was there dead when it thawed out. We knew we thought we had the right gene. We repeated the experiment hundreds of times till we found the gene that protected the fish from crystallizing upon freezing, and we put it in a strawberry, and we dropped the freezing point of a strawberry about 4 degrees. That's what biotechnology is about. We look at life forms, and we find traits. It can be an animal, it can be in a plant, We find traits that we'd like to have in our food crops, and we experiment looking for the genes and moving them into our food crops. The future of biotechnology in food is incredible. Precision agriculture. Most people think our farms today are grandfather's farm. They have no idea of the advances. They have no idea of variable rate technology that we use. All of you are part of the telecommunication revolution. There's probably nobody in this room that doesn't own some kind of a smartphone. Perhaps most of you already own a tablet computer. You're tied in electronically, and nobody realizes that agriculture is part of that telecommunication revolution. We now can move our tractors with GPS systems. We don't really need to drive them. We still do. We turn around. It's a little hazardous yet to turn 180 degrees without being in the cab, but we really can do it. We no longer, by the way, how many of you own a tablet computer of some type? Raise your hand if you own a tablet. Okay, those that don't, go out and buy one. You cannot continue your careers without a tablet computer. Why do I say that? There are so many applications that will make your work more efficient with a tablet computer. There will not be a farmer in America within 3 years will not be using a tablet computer to make his farming more efficient. I was sitting at a table at an irrigation conference earlier this year, and I'm watching a farmer explain a program he had on his tablet computer that controlled all his center pivot irrigation systems from a 10-mile radius. And I said to him, "Where'd you buy that program?" He said, "I didn't buy it. I made it." I said, "Oh, you have a degree in computer science?" And he just laughed at me and he said, no big deal. He had used his native common sense to develop a program to control his irrigation system. It was just amazing. Well, there are applications all up and down that will improve your work, and I don't care what it is, you're all going to have a tablet computer because it's going to make your work easier. We used to look at a 400-acre farm as one 400-acre farm. Well, I've never been on 400 acres that was all the same. I've never seen 400 acres where the yield was the same acre by acre. Now we sample the ground, and we find out that we have many variations of agronomy on our farm, and that those variations require differences in inputs, perhaps differences in seed spacing, perhaps differences in irrigation or nitrogen application. Variable rate technology, we have equipment today that reads the GPS, knows where it is, latitude and longitude, and we can build a program in to tell our variable rate equipment to vary our seed spacing, to vary our fertilizer application. This is fascinating stuff. The public doesn't know that. The public thinks our farms are grandfather's farms. The public does not know that we are as advanced technologically as any profession you can imagine. Maybe not all of us, maybe not all of our farms, but they will be. 40% of our farms are now using some form of precision agriculture. And it will be 100% within the decade. This is worth telling, because there's so many people out there saying negative things about agriculture, saying we're not sustainable. How ridiculous. We're not sustainable. Let me tell you about sustainability, and in doing so, I want you to remember one 6-letter word. The word is search. Anti-agriculture people, of which there are many, there are all kinds of environmental zealot groups that really don't want us to feed the world. They tell the public that biotechnology is bad. Greenpeace has made it impossible for us to sell golden rice, which has extra vitamin A, which is deficient in the third world, and there are like 8 million cases of childhood blindness around the world every year because rice is their primary food and there's no vitamin A in the rice. So golden rice, which has been bioengineered, has vitamin A in it. Greenpeace has told everyone in the world it's bad stuff. They have thwarted for nearly a decade our ability to sell golden rice around the world. There are evil people out there that are opposed to agriculture, that are opposed to our feeding the world. That's why you need to spend 2 hours a month talking to people who aren't in agriculture, telling the wonders of modern agriculture, of biotechnology, precision agriculture. So this sustainability idea is part of painting us with a black hat on a black horse that we're not good for the environment. Well, there are 6 issues involved in sustainability, and they're all start with the letter of the word S-E-A-R-C-H, search. I think you can remember that word. The S stands for environmentally sensitive areas. Anti-ag people want the public to think that we're screwing up wetlands or we're contaminating the soil with our chemicals. We are not. But the public who doesn't know agriculture wants to be assured that we're protecting environmentally sensitive areas. The E stands for energy. They want to be sure we're not overusing energy. Well, nobody overuses energy. It's kind of common sense, but I'll get back to that in a moment. The A stands for air, water, and soil. The public wants to know that we're not contaminating the air, water, and soil. Even though we live on the farm, we drink the water, we breathe the air, and God knows we don't want to lose any soil. The R in search stands for reduce, reuse, recycle. Just, the common sense things of life. They want to know that. The C stands for chemicals. They want to know we don't overuse chemicals. The H stands for human health. They want to be sure we look after the people who work on our farms, usually our families. I'm going to go back to the E and the C. One of the good news of your future is that we are awash in energy. Within this decade, the world will know that the United States has more energy than any country in the world, far more than Saudi Arabia. North America, with Canada, Mexico, and the United States, will be totally energy secure. We will not need to buy a barrel of oil from Saudi Arabia. I don't know that we won't, but we won't need to. The natural gas price that has dropped from $14 a million BTU down to now 3.5. It was 2. It might go to 5. We have enough natural gas in this country to last 3 centuries. I study this. It's one of my areas of expertise. I'm the editor of John Wiley's Encyclopedia of Energy. This is good news. It's good news to all of you. And industry's coming back to America because we have natural gas that's 1/3 the cost of energy in Europe or Asia. Good times ahead. Energy for agriculture is going to get less and less expensive. The C in chemicals. The public thinks we pour gallons of chemicals onto our crops. I have here a 1-ounce bottle of Visine. I carry it with me everywhere, not because my eyes get bloodshot. I carry it because it's a 1-ounce bottle. Do you know that every single chemical manufacturer for ag chemicals in America produces a chemical, a herbicide, or an insecticide that requires less than this bottle for an acre of ground? Less than this for an acre of ground? The public thinks we pour buckets, gallons, barrels of chemicals on the ground. You need to disabuse them of that idea. These are the things you need to share. Animal welfare. Raise your hand. Well, all right, okay. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. First of all, raise your hand if you were raised on a farm. Wow. Okay, great. Now, Okay, raise your hand if you raised animals on the farm. Okay. Now, raise your hand if you were able to improve the output of your animals by mistreating them. It's funny, isn't it? What possible incentive does anybody in agriculture have for mistreating an animal? You get more milk from a dairy cow, you get more lean meat from a hog or cattle, get more eggs from chickens by mistreating them? No! There is no living thing that operates at an optimal level when under stress, including all of you. You go to work or you go to school in a bad mood, you got some kind of problem, you're not going to do as well in your studies. Animals are the same way. The idea that anybody in agriculture, other than, I suppose, some weird oddball, would ever mistreat an animal for their benefit is crazy. And yet the Humane Society of the United States, the Animal Liberation Front, groups like that try to paint us as being cruel to animals, and all you have to say to people who aren't in agriculture, what possible incentive would we have to ever mistreat an animal? And yet Humane Society of the United States will have hidden cameras and they'll hire people to get on a farm and set up a deal where they'll be cruel to an animal, take pictures of it and put it on TV. There are people out there that don't like agriculture. How are we going to overcome the misinformation they spread? Well, I know how. You're going to tell the public. If there are 500 of you in this room and you put in 2 hours a month, that's 1,000 hours of positive education toward agriculture. How do you put it in? Well, I mean, just chatting with people, writing a letter to a newspaper, maybe teaching a little class in an elementary school, just talking about agriculture. You all assume, I mean, you go to college with people who are not in agriculture. They're in every walk of life. I guarantee you that the vast majority of people sitting here think that those people not in agriculture aren't interested in what you do. I know they're interested. Can you see my tie? It's a gorgeous farm scene. I've already had half a dozen of you walk up to me and say they like my tie. I only wear farm ties. I have a collection of them. I wear farm ties because I've never gone anywhere that someone didn't say, wow, that's a nice tie. They now are subjected to a 5-minute tutorial on agriculture. It's fun. It's rewarding. It's satisfying. And you will find that. Don't be shy about it. That's what we're all about. 3 more subjects, quickly. Water supply. I cut my teeth agriculturally really 56 years ago on irrigation. Hopefully most of you are too young to remember, but when we started center pivot sprinkler irrigation, we sprayed water up in the air with the idea that it would settle to the ground and irrigate our crops. Can you think of anything more stupid than that? Well, I couldn't, and I started railing against it back in 1959, saying this is insane. I mean, the idea of the center pivot was cool, but the idea of spraying it up in the air was crazy. And so I worked with lots of people, and we brought in drip irrigation, which made a lot more sense. Now, the only resource, by the way, all of the people that spoke before me alluded to this. What is clearly the most important resource that we have on this planet? I heard water. Human capital. Brain power. Our most important resource is between our ears. And all the people, all the doomsayers They just assume we're going to run out of this, we're going to run out of that. And one thing to remember, to make my point here, before I go back to water, is we did not go from the Stone Age to the Steel Age because we ran out of stones. Okay? Our brain power develops replacements long before we run out of anything. The only resource that tends to be limited is water. We basically have the same amount of water that we started with. So it is dear, and we do have to conserve it. And we've learned, my God, if you live around the Ogallala Formation, I cut my teeth on the Ogallala that runs, from Nebraska down to Texas. They said it would be dry by now. Well, it's not at all dry. There's still plenty left. We've learned how to conserve, how to irrigate, how to handle water better, but it's still our dearest resource. But I'll just give you a tip that you'll see happen in the next number of years. The only science that is not advanced in 100 years is that of water location. We locate water and drill wells the same way today as we did 100 years ago. There's nothing else you can think of that hasn't changed in 100 years. And the reason for that is water has no value. Essentially, we give it away. Therefore, it was not worth spending a lot of money to develop water when you couldn't get the money back. That is going to change in the next 5 years. This is a futurist trend. You can take it to the bank, but it'll be a few years. The advent of fracking for natural gas, which requires so much water, is causing companies in the energy business to utilize mineral and petroleum exploration technology to locate water at greater depth in fractures than we have found before. So you're going to see some advances in the availability of water in the coming years as a result of the money being spent to develop water for fracking. But it will still always be in shorter supply than any other resource on Earth, and we're getting better at it. We've learned to irrigate better. We've learned to understand the cycle of plants, when they need the water, when they don't need the water, and biotechnology, developing seeds that require less water. Last 2 points. Land. You all know that land prices are increasing. Will they continue to increase, or will they go sky high? Yes and no. You don't need to expect land prices to go much higher or to get much cheaper, but all the land prices that you hear that are crazy, and Iowa would be the best example because recently somebody bought 60 acres of land at $20,000 an acre. That had no meaning at all. That was a farmer who hated his neighbor and outbid. There was land in between two farms, and the farmer retired and had 60 acres and put it up for sale, and two farmers that didn't like each other had a bidding war, and it went to one farmer for $20,000 an acre. Someone give me a wild guess as to how much farm acreage in the state of Iowa changes hands every year. Yell out a number. 2, that's a good number. The answer is 4. Close enough for government work. The point being, very little farmland changes hands, and so the prices that you see are really not indicative of the value of the land. Nobody sells it. And the little bit that is sold gets dearer, which does make it harder to start a new farm. There's no question about that. But by and large, farm prices are high. They're going to stay high. It's not a bubble. They may drop back 10%. I don't see any more of an adjustment than that. My final subject, and again, I want to reiterate, you all have my cards, or you're sitting on them, or they're on the floor, or wherever. You have my email. I am a futurist. I study trends. I'm not all that smart, but I travel all around the world, and I talk to people, and I listen more than I talk. And it isn't rocket science to listen to thousands of people around the globe and get a feel for where we're going. And if you want to email me, I'll send you, I kind of keep an up-to-date list of a couple dozen trends relating to agriculture that I'd be happy to send you. But one of the trends that is worrisome that you need to be aware of is the encroachment on the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency on agriculture. And the best example I can give you of that is that in Arizona, they're trying out in one particular county dust control regulations. They feel that dust from farms has a negative impact on air quality, so they're wanting to pass regulations that would involve everything you do on a farm that might throw dust in the air, including carrying mud on your tires off the farm onto the streets. It is absurd. US EPA, in my opinion, is really out of control in terms of passing regulations that don't benefit the environment or the public in any way, just make life more difficult. And up to now, it has not been too bad with agriculture, but I worry about it. And it's something you need to keep your eye on. And in terms of educating people about what a great job we are doing, improving our food supply, improving our yields, advancing our technology, improving and increasing our ability to feed the world, you need to be talking about all of these things to people who are not in agriculture. And my closing point is this. Raise your hand if you would consider yourself living in a rural agricultural area. Most of you. Okay. Then most of you make one gigantic mistake about the areas you live in. Because you live in a rural agricultural area, you make the assumption that everybody in your community understands agriculture. And I'm telling you, if they're not involved in production agriculture, they don't know beans about agriculture because you didn't tell them. The farmers in the community didn't tell them. And what they know, they heard on the radio, saw on TV, read in the magazine or the newspapers. And it's wrong. So I always have a test for people, if you disagree with me, how you can prove that I'm right. Everybody here goes to a drugstore in their rural community. Ask the farmer, ask the pharmacist in the drugstore what N, P, and K are. Or conversely, ask them what fertilizer is and see if they know it's nitrogen, potassium, and phosphate. Ask them some simple questions. The public that is not in agriculture, they don't understand what fertilizer is. They don't understand what farm inputs are. They hear that they're poisons. They favor organic farming, which I don't have anything against organic farming, except we can't feed the world on it because the yields are too low. Actually, I do have a problem with it. I mean, I love celery. And the idea that when I'm chewing on a stalk of celery, that 2 days ago it was under 3 inches of cow poop bothers me a lot. But that's me. That's me. But the people in your community don't understand agriculture, even though it's a farm community. So this meeting is all about communication. It's all about sharing your passion with people not in agriculture, because if we don't tell the story, who's going to do it for us? And you're all learning the skills to do a spectacular job of telling agricultural's modern story. Thank you all very, very much. I'll be here all night and with you. And
oh, hold on a second. Dr. Lehr?
Oh.
Dr. Lehr, as someone who's an agricultural communications student like myself, your message really hits home with me. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. On behalf of AFA and all of our delegates, I would like to thank you for sharing your message with us. In lieu of speakers' gifts this year, we have decided to honor our speakers by financially supporting a special project with an organization called New Manna. And Saturday night, AFA delegates will assemble 25,000 soup packets that will be sent abroad to areas of need. So we hope that you feel honored that you've been part of this special effort.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And
thank you.
Thanks so much. We will now adjourn for dinner. Remember, if you have any special dietary needs, please stop by the AFA office in the lobby to get instructions on how to receive meals that meet your needs. After dinner, please reconvene here in this room at 6:30 for our keynote speaker. Track 4, please note that you will be having dinner in the Chateau room on the mezzanine level, which is the second floor. Tracks 1, 2, and 3 will be eating in Gillum Hall, which is located on the lobby level at the bottom of the escalators. Everybody enjoy your dinner.